plane.
Welcome to the Diapers on a Plane podcast. This is Catherine and Gabriel coming to you from Korea. This is episode number 20, week 10. And today we're going to be talking about our last ticket items that we have left to do while we're here in Korea and what we've been up to the last couple weeks because...
Well, it hasn't been a ton just because we've finally officially hit Sambok, which is the official summer here in Korea. And it is so incredibly hot. It is like 80 to 90 degrees every day and then 100% humidity. You literally stand outside and you're toast. It's done. So we haven't done that much. When we first got to Korea, we never wanted to leave our apartment. And now that we're here in the last...
Sorry, you always wanted to leave your apartment.
Oh, yeah, sheesh. When we first got to Korea, we always wanted to leave the apartment. We couldn't stand staying in there. Now that we've officially hit these dog days of summer, we cannot think of doing anything but staying in the apartment. So,
right. So everyone warned us when we came here for the summer that it's going to get hot. It's going to get hot. And I'm like, we're from Utah. It's really hot in Utah all the time. It's like 100 degrees. And how has it been different in Korea?
It's wet. And, you know, I am a self-proclaimed, I love the humidity. I love the humidity. I'm the one person in the human race that loves the humidity. And I still do. I still actually prefer the humidity over the dry heat. But this was too much humidity.
Yeah, I think it's like 100% humidity. It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, so we've been to the Philippines. We went to the Philippines, a long time ago, we'll just say. And, this is very on par with the Philippines. Gabriel still says it wasn't as hot as the Philippines. I think it was about the same. Definitely the hottest place I've been. I was telling my friends back home, like, you think Florida's hot? You have no idea. Like, Korea has stepped it up a notch. So,
yeah, it was pretty crazy. So yeah, before we get into some of the activities we've been doing this week, I just wanted to point out, if we haven't yet, that we are going to be heading home in a few days.
Yes, our time is wrapping up here in Korea. It will be a full 11 and a half weeks. So we spent just shy of a full 3 months here in Korea, and it has been amazing. I have just very minor complaints.
Well, and it's a weird feeling too. I don't think it's completely fully sunk in that we're leaving yet. It does feel a lot like it feels like a second home, but not, because we don't have like all of our things here. It's like a weird limbo state.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it's like packing to go home, because, you know, we've moved so many times, and packing always makes things feel really final and makes you kind of see how really invested in a place you got. So that'll really give us a good indicator of how really enmeshed did we get in our life there. Yeah,
so stay tuned next week when we talk about our travel home and all the other fun stuff. But in the meantime, should we chat about what we did last week?
Absolutely. So one of the things we did is we tried Korean swimming again after our excellent experience at Everland. We really wanted to try it again, and we kept hearing about a place called Woogjin, and I guess we didn't really hear about it as much as we saw it.
Yeah, it was on the screens in the subway every single time we traveled, and they were very entertaining videos.
And they had choreographed dance moves.
온가족 즐거운응플 도시. 엄마 아빠 웅플 할아버지 할머니도 웅플 너무너무 즐거워져 웅플 온가족 즐거운 응집플 도시.
They had this little family doing a dance in a Korean pop style.
And they weren't wearing swim caps, and they weren't wearing life vests. So we thought, this will be a lot like Everland.
They weren't wearing, did you say they weren't wearing life vests either?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they were wearing like swim trunks. So it was like a Western style where like, this place looks hip.
Yeah. So we looked up the prices. They were actually really expensive. So we were able to get a discount through Tracy, and so we were able to go for $20 per person, and that felt like a good deal. We could go all day.
And that included life vests.
Right. It did include life vests, and it did include the locker rental as well. So felt like a good deal. It's an indoor water park, so it actually does have a little bit outdoor. So indoor, outdoor. And before we really tell you about it, we will just tell you that after going to Woogjin, we officially gave up on swimming in Korea.
We were done.
We were going to go to another indoor theme park called One World, and it's on the 4th and 5th story of a business building, but we just decided after Woogjin that we were done. Our little baby Eclair was not the baby, but the 4-year-old was just miserable the whole time. She literally could do nothing except go down this baby slide that she self-proclaimed was a baby slide, and just got so mad. Anytime anybody else wanted to go a ride, or anytime she couldn't go in the water without her life jacket, because you don't swim with a life jacket, you float. Yeah.
And I'd also like to point out, if you're floating in a life jacket, there should be enough water to float in, right? You shouldn't be able to stand waist deep in the water. Like, there should be a reason that you need a life vest.
Yes. So life vests were required. In fact, they were required so much that our infant, who is 8 months old, could not go in the water without a life vest. Now, we weren't leaving her alone in the water. I was holding her. Gabriel was holding her. A tall adult was holding her, and she was not allowed in the water without a life vest. I was not allowed in the water without a life vest. Neither was Gabriel. We all had to have life vests on, and we had to be holding the life vest. I had to be holding the baby with the life vest, which is very cumbersome to the point of being impossible. So it was not the greatest. And you also had to have swim caps. We were yelled at all day long because we didn't have swim caps on.
Which is interesting. You can wear swim caps or baseball caps. And I met up with a Australian Korean who now lives in Korea, and he's completely bald, and he's told that he's also screamed at to wear a swim cap when he goes swimming at the public pools, and he'll ask the attendant why, and they'll say for hygiene. He's like, but I'm bald, and they'll say swim cap. So interesting.
So this park it's huge. It's actually quite large. It's got a wave pool, which is pretty tiny. And then it's got a lazy river that was actually really fun. But you were floating along in the lazy river in more ways than one. And then they had a section for slides. So like we mentioned with Eclair, she had the little orange slide that she could go down. And then they had 5 larger slides, and you had to be 120 centimeters for all of them except for one slide, and you had to be 150 for that one. And we call that one the toilet flusher.
It was super cool.
It was really fun. So you get flushed down the toilet, you go around and around and around until you get to the bowl, and you go around and around, and then you flip out on your head.
Yeah, you fall down it just drops you down this little hole into the water where a lifeguard like fishes you out of it. It's pretty hilarious, and it was pretty awesome. So there, we pointed out our dislike for the whole life vest situation and being yelled at for the swim caps. But otherwise, what did you think of the park as a whole?
I actually thought I loved the slides. The slides, they were top notch. They actually did a really good job on the slides.
For being an indoor park.
Yeah.
They had really good slides.
Yeah. But the rest of the park, I wasn't crazy about. And maybe if we didn't have to wear the life vest, actually 100% if we hadn't had to wear the life vest, it would have been a super fun park. But really just wearing the life vest just took the fun out of it. They had a lot of little pools, and I'm not kidding, like the water didn't come up to my knees, and I could not hold the baby in it. The hot tubs where you were just sitting in them and the water didn't come up to your shoulders, and I couldn't hold the baby in there. Like there was so much frustration. So
yep. So that's Woogjin. A couple things I would like to point out is that if you're going there and you're a foreigner, just like everything else, it's really weird in Korea. You pay more if you're a Korean.
Yeah.
But if you're a foreigner and you can prove you're a foreigner, I think technically for that $20 discount, we got over 50% off. Plus the life vests were like $6 or $7 per person, plus the lockers that would probably have been a couple bucks. But we saved so much money by using Tracy or Klook or
Go Woogjin, which is our personal favorite.
Yep. So use one of those for most of the theme parks and everything.
Check out our website, and you can find links for the foreign discount.
The other thing I loved, and our 7-year-olds loved, was that there were no lines for the rides, for the slides. They just ran up and down the whole time.
Yeah, they also had a potato sack ride. So 4 slides right next to each other. You're not technically in a potato sack, but you can envision what we're talking about. And you just went straight down it, and you were racing each other. And even the lifeguard at the beginning counted down, so you guys all started at the same time. And that was really fun. They had a couple kids areas, smaller children's play areas that, again, those are really for like 1 to 2 year olds. So our 4-year-old wasn't crazy about them. They had a swimming pool, like a standard swimming pool that would have been a lot of fun, but we weren't allowed in it without swim caps. We technically weren't allowed in anything without swim caps, but they were much stricter. They forced us out of there. And then they had a whole other half section that we thought was more like a swimsuit jjimjilbang, but all the pools were cold.
Yeah, they had hot tubs that were like either lukewarm or cold.
Yeah, so.
But they had like those cool kiddie areas there, though. They had like the blocks or the bubbles. They had little themed ones.
Yeah, they were like 85 degrees. So they were like not warm enough to be like relaxing, but not cool enough to be refreshing. But they had like Lego blocks in them. They had bubbles in one. They had a ghost one that was like the lights were dimmed in it. Yeah. So,
and they had a lot of other stuff. Like they had little areas you could pay $5 and have the fish nibble on your feet.
Yeah.
And
they had a restaurant.
Yeah, there's a restaurant, cafeteria in between the two with very overpriced food.
Yeah. So all in all, it's a lot of fun if you don't mind going with a life vest and you don't mind going with a swim cap on and you want to float around. But interestingly, you don't wear your life vest on the slides.
Yeah.
So you take those off for the slides.
So you
can carry them down.
You either leave them at the bottom like we did, or you have to like hold them to your chest while you go down, which is just weird.
Yeah. It definitely impedes like the whole point. But anywho, so another thing we did.
Hold on. For one last final thing about my favorite part of this.
Not the toilet flusher ride?
I love that part. But my favorite part about this whole Woogjin as a whole was that it did not take long to get by subway.
Yes, it was super close to the Incheon Global Campus.
So I'd almost rather go there than Caribbean Bay, even though Caribbean Bay is way cooler, because it was so close and you had to wait 2 to 3 hours for a single slide at Caribbean Bay. This one, the slides might not have been intense, but you could go on them every 5 minutes. Like you could just run up, go.
True.
So I love that part of it. And I love the proximity to where we lived.
All right. So another place that we went this week that also didn't have lines for anything.
For good reason, I think.
Was a place called Wolmi Theme Park. Now, there is a little island off of the main island of Incheon that's called Wolmido Island, and it's really close to Chinatown. We talked a ton about how much we loved Chinatown. You take a little bus from Chinatown. It's 5 minutes long. We think there might also be a monorail. We had some difficulty figuring out if that was accurate or not.
There is a monorail, but we don't know when it runs, because when we first arrived there, we saw it.
True. We don't know when it runs or where it runs to.
Right.
So the theme park is why we headed out there. So it's a little place called Wolmi Theme Park, and it's been compared to like Coney Island. It's a little, really just a really tiny, like I don't even think it covered a full square block.
Yeah, it was really small, very compact. Kind of like I don't know, if you're from Utah, I guess it's like a Trafalgar, but not even a Trafalgar. It's smaller than that. Yeah,
it's just really tiny. It's like one square block, and it's got multiple levels. Most of the rides are going to be on the bottom floor. They've got 1 or 2 on the second floor and then 1 or 2 on the top floor. Ferris wheels on the top. And then they had a roller coaster that was closed. And then on the middle floor, they had that dragon boats, the ones that go side to side and go high up in the air.
The rocks back and forth. So I think the whole thing as a whole, I would say it's like, imagine the rides that they have in like the traveling carnivals.
Right. But not even that big.
No, it wasn't that big, but those were the rides.
Right, true. Yeah. They didn't have like a tilt-a-whirl though. They didn't have that one. I never can remember what it's called, but you go inside and you're in a cage and you can flip around. That's my favorite ride ever. Yeah. But yes, that would be the most similar. And then the bottom floor had a lot of a kiddie section, and then it had just slightly older rides. It like has that ride, that they always have at a carnival where you stand inside and it's like the force keeps you in your seat.
Oh, right. That spins you around.
Yeah. Oh, they had that.
They had Stranger Things too. Yeah. They were in that ride.
So this Wolmi theme park had the chance to be a really great place for families to play. It has an opportunity to be a really fun activity for families to go every day, to go after work, to go after school, to go in the middle of the afternoon. except they priced it so unbelievably high, it would be more cost effective to go to Caribbean Bay
or cheaper to go
Everland.
to Woogjin was half the price.
Yeah.
Like, it was like $30.
It was the cost of Lotte World, which is the largest indoor-outdoor theme park in the world, not just in Korea, in the world. It had over 100 rides, and this one had like
15 and a lot
rides,
of them really,
maybe?
really like small.
Half of them were broken down.
So I think we just decided to get some tickets for the kids, and we paid $15 for like 4 rides.
Yeah, $15 for 4 rides, and there were 2 ride operators for the whole place, and they just had to watch for when people went to rides, and then they would let you on.
Yeah, it was a ghost town.
It was, for good reason. I can't imagine even paying that. Like, I mean, what we did pay, we were just horrified by.
So I'm not disappointed that we went there. But if you want to go see it just to see it and mark it off a list, like we could have just walked through it, and I would have been okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have felt like, oh, we really missed an opportunity to do these rides.
So why didn't we just walk through it?
Because of the kids.
Yeah. We had promised the kids that they were going to go to a carnival, and we had to let them. So I think they each ended up going on like 6 rides. So they got 2 extra rides just because I think the tour operators felt bad for us. And then they also had one other notably missing thing that should be at every carnival.
Fun?
Yes, fun. But one other F word.
Food.
Yeah.
But they had restaurants like outside of it. They had a loteria there. They had a loteria right there.
Well, they didn't have churros. They didn't have squid. They didn't have ice cream. We'd been promising the kids ice cream too. And they didn't have any of that. It was super disappointing.
They had a little statue of an ice cream cone, remember?
Yeah.
And a hamburger.
Where was the ice
with
cream?
creepy faces on them.
Oh, so it was
so
wrong.
awesome. So the place was actually really cool. It's just, if it had been like half the price, we would have been maybe
over it. Yeah.
Maybe had given a higher praise.
Yeah.
But not worth the money.
No way. No way. Around that area, there is another little foot spa. This one is free. There's no fish in it. But I'd been wanting to try one of these because there's one of those at the Central Park right here in the city. And I'd been wanting to go, you just see all these random strangers just sitting there with their feet in this water. And I'd always wondered, it's not a very American thing to do. So we went and did that.
I think that's swimming.
There's a pier that you can walk out on. And really pretty views, but that's about it.
Okay, so sorry, Wolmi, that's all we're going to talk about you. Yep. And so you might notice a theme this week. We don't like to go very far. What were the things we had on our list to do this week?
Oh my gosh, we were gonna go back to Lotte World. Yep. That was in Seoul. We were going to go up to Namsan Tower, which is also in Seoul. That's like the big lookout. We were going to Irwagani Beach. That is a beach that's off the coast of Incheon, but it's not super close. We were going to go to that other swimming place. We were going to go to another Jimjilbang called Blue Ocean. We were going to and then Bomunsa Temple, which also was not very close.
Which I would love to do. We did so much on the first end of this whole trip, expat experience, that this last week we kind of were just done with the traveling.
Oh my gosh. Well, it would have been interesting had we had more energy if the sun and the heat and the humidity had not zapped it all completely out of us.
The dog days.
Yeah.
The dog days are getting to us. So what have we been doing?
We have pretty much just been eating our favorite food. We wanted to make sure that we got our fill as much as we could of all the things we knew we couldn't get back home. So what were some of those?
Fried chicken.
What kind of fried chicken?
KFC.
Korean fried chicken. Yes. If you ever hear us say KFC again, it is not Kentucky. It is Korean.
Korean fried chicken, which is the best fried chicken on the planet.
Say it again.
The best fried chicken on the planet.
Yes. Oh.
Whether it's delivered to you by Uber Eats or picked up at that to-go fried chicken place. I don't know. It's just so good.
Yeah. So our favorite place on Uber Eats, if you are in Korea, what was that one called?
It's like the Songdo Barbecue.
Yep. And then our favorite place to eat in town is at Dream City. Once you take the bus 91, you get off and it's right there. You don't cross the street. It's just right there. It's a little window and you get the sweet and sour Sweet and spicy chicken and the teriyaki chicken.
Sweet and spicy and the teriyaki.
And at the barbecue songdo, you get the honey garlic chicken.
So good.
And you can get some regular, but don't bother. Just get the honey garlic. It is the best.
Okay, what else have we been eating?
So we also wanted to get some chicken galbi. That was, I think, your favorite.
Chicken galbi. I do. I love the chicken galbi. It's like chicken rib pieces with cheese around the edges. I think we've talked about it before. In fact, we've done a mukbang about that.
Yeah. You can check that out on YouTube. And, so good. Chicken galbi is the bee's knees.
And last but not least.
Well, everybody knows.
Everybody, do they?
BINGSU.
Yeah.
Pat BINGSU.
Where at?
Give me all the BINGSU. Soul Bing.
It has to be a Soul Bing.
Yeah, we've tried it. We actually, this week, we tried several different shaved ice places that offered, I'm using air quotes right now, that offered BINGSU. And it was not BINGSU. It was some sort of awful contraption or concoction, both.
So that's been a daily occurrence, is taking that. It's about a 20-minute walk up to the BINGSU.
But it's worth it because you walk it up.
But what have we been doing on our way there and our way back?
Yes. So we have been we've been playground hopping. So because everybody, and I'm not sure if it's this way all over the entire Indiana-sized state of Korea.
No, I think it's like these big metropolis cities.
So Seoul and Incheon, Incheon of course is newer. Songdo is a decade old, but everybody lives in these super high-rise apartment buildings, and then they have to have a place for the kids to play. So literally, every couple of feet, there is a different style of playground with different things to play on. Some of them have swings, some of them have monkey bars, some of them have
zip lines.
Yeah, some of them have slides coming out of an elephant trunk.
Water features.
Yeah. So we have just been playground hopping. We were just going to and fro, and the kids would be like, next, and then they'd walk over a couple feet.
Yeah, they're probably like 50 yards from each other. So it's kind of like, so the way these big apartment buildings are stacked to like 40 or 50 floors. They're really tall, and it's kind of like covered wagons in a circle. You've got 4 or 5 in a group that's made by one apartment kind of complex. And then in the center of each of those, they have like a big kids area. So Songdo is trying really hard to be kid friendly, family friendly. That's the whole purpose of this whole city.
Yeah. So, and we just loved it. We loved going back and forth. They've got little things that you can, little toy animals that you can ride back and forth. They're all themed. Some of them are themed like a fire truck. Some of them are themed like a chicken. Some of them are themed like safari. Just incredibly fun. It was so much fun for our kids, and they loved going back and forth. And pretty much the whole way from once you cross over just about a block or a city street from the Incheon Global Campus, you can hit playground after playground. So you stop at the playgrounds on the way. We get our amazing BINGSU, and then we come back.
Yep.
So on our last, it probably won't be our last, but we just literally have a day or two left. So we finally tried the strawberry macaron BINGSU, which they kept telling us was sold out every time, and I don't believe it now. I just think there might have been mistranslation, but now they have an order kiosk where you can, a digital order kiosk. So instead of having to verbalize what you want, you can order it and pay for it yourself. Yeah. So we finally got the strawberry macaron one, and all I have to say is heaven.
Yeah, pretty darn good. So side note, we've actually ordered ice shaver that's going to be waiting for us back in Utah so we can try and make our own BINGSU. But on top of that, our good friend Ate informed us that she thinks there's a place that serves BINGSU
that's right.
on State Street in Utah when we get home. So, that's going to be on our list.
Yes. We'll have to check it out.
Okay. So I think that's it. So what we've got coming up is we've got to start packing, and we've got to finish trying to buy goodies for our friends and family at home.
So it has been a very fun summer. Next week, just going to be talking about all the things we loved about Korea. We'll talk about a few of the different cultural differences, just sum them up. And of course, there were some things that we didn't love. Nothing disparaging, just, as a
You can do it. You can do it.
But what's it called when you
Snob?
No, what's it called when you like give? It's not foreshadowing, but when you give a
I don't know. It's something.
Hint.
Yeah.
Should give you a little hint about what to expect next week.
Oh, there you go.
We did not love the swimming here. So, yeah, but there are very few things. So we're going to talk next week all about the things we loved, all of the little different cultural things, and all of the things that we're just going to miss. We're just going to kind of sum up our time in Korea after we get home and maybe survive a little bit of the jet lag. And we'll be coming at you back from Utah next week.
Yay, another spoiler. It's pretty much all love, even kimchi. So it's going to be fun to talk about.
All right. We'll see you then. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe and be sure to check us out on YouTube and our social channels, and hit up the blog if you have any more additional questions about anything. We have written about everything we've done on there, and you can find it just right there in the last 74 days.
See you next week.